Welcome to Robin Penny, who is based out of Santa Cruz. Robin is a 100-hour still Mace Vinyasa certified holistic movement coach. She also runs her own private coaching business out of Santa Cruz. Thank you so much for being here, Robin. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I always love talking with you.
So, Robin, would you mind just telling us a little story about yourself and kind of how you got started in the career of private movement coaching?
Sure. Well, I've been teaching for probably close to 14 years or so now. Started in the normal yoga studio group class arena, doing that slog and the runaround, which was great. I did that for many years. I love teaching group classes, and I loved the whole experience. And as part of that, I started kind of dabbling in doing private sessions when I lived back in Canada. I lived in Canada for several years, and I that was really good for me from a business standpoint for sure, because there was just no way when you're teaching group classes that you can make a living teaching group yoga classes. So I luckily started teaching privately pretty early on in my career. And not only is it more lucrative, but it's just like way more intimate. I feel like I got to know my students at a way deeper level. I was able to help people just way more easily, and I could just really listen to what they needed and watch them more carefully. And that actually made my group classes much better also. Yeah, doing privates has been something I've been doing for a long time. And I guess I started moving into more coaching pretty more recently. For a long time, I was just teaching the one-off private session, just like, what do you need today? What can I help you with? And that is wonderful and great. But I didn't have like a program really. I didn't have a way to move people forward on a transformational journey in a way that I felt like I could measure and was like repeatable or anything like that. So the coaching piece of it has been pretty new just in the last couple of years.
Awesome. So Robin designed a beautiful manual, one of the best ones that we've had come through, Flow Coach Accelerator, and it's called Function and Flow. Robin, describe where you were at before starting Flow Coach Accelerator and kind of what you gained out of it.
Well, I feel like when I was just kind of almost ready to almost leave teaching actually before I found Flow Coach Accelerator, because even though I was, I love my students and I had this group class that I teach outside on my deck here. And I don't know, I was just kind of running out of steam with it. I found it to be very exhausting and I just wasn't really going anywhere. I do have a couple other side businesses that I do. And those were pulling at me a little bit. And I was like, maybe I should just go and do that and just leave. Maybe I'm done with this whole yoga thing. Which I didn't think I would ever really get there with wanting to leave. And then lo and behold, I found you. And I just kind of decided I'm just going to take one more shot at this and just see what happens. Yeah. So that's kind of where I was at the beginning. And then was there another part to your question?
Yeah, well, I guess it's just cool to kind of look at like what was missing before you got into the Flow Coach Accelerator and what did you kind of leave with?
Yeah. I mean, what I left with, like the program itself was definitely a vast amount of information. And it was I kind of like, when I finished the program, I was definitely like, okay, I need to take a little break and integrate, because there was so much that you give to us in the program that I needed more time on my own to just kind of let it seep in. Um, so I have done that, and I feel like I'm still doing that, but I feel more and more like it's coming into my body and into my practice, into my teaching, and all of that. Um, but I mean, I would say pretty immediately I left with a freebie, like an opt-in that I had never been able to make myself create. You made us create it in like a week. And at the time I was like, she's crazy. But I do have this thing now that I did and that's out there, which is amazing. So there's a lot of things that, I got pushed to create. The manual is another example of something that I just never would have created on my own. And now I have basically this book that I'm teaching from and I'm just pulling, and it is it reflects not only the training that I did with you, but all kinds of other things that I wanted to pull in from other modalities and my whatever my experience from before. So just having those created is just really nice to have like some products that now that I have, and that makes my life easier and also just my teaching more effective and more integrated. And I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I left like probably with, again, just like the teaching itself with the steel mace and the biomechanical piece of it integrated into methodology of yoga and that framework for nervous system regulation and all of that. It just really brought together a lot of things for me that were in these separate little pieces, and I could never really figure out how to bring them together. And now I just have this framework that I can use all the time. So it just makes me feel really settled and confident in what I'm doing now and teaching. And also I can tell my students, like, this is the plan. This is what we're doing. This is what we're working on together. And they really like that. They're like, oh, wow, she has a plan for me. Okay. Like, I'm going somewhere, versus just like showing up and feeling good and all of that. It's wonderful, but it's different when you're on a path. Yeah.
Absolutely. I hear that so much. So, for your clients that you're working on with program design, a big piece of what we do in Flow Coach Accelerator, for those of you guys listening, is really work on designing a program that's progressive in nature, that has certain skill sets that we're learning. We're working through like old injuries, we're working on functional movement patterns. What would you say overall your clients have noticed since you've started implementing the program design piece for your
Mm-hmm.
one-on-ones?
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely strength. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm focusing on a lot. My work focuses on midlife women, so those of us who are losing bone mass and muscle mass and bone density, and watching those extra pounds creep in and all of that. Just the strength piece has been really key for me for a long time. So the way that the programming progresses them through that in a easy way for them to choose where their level is, and for me to see what level they need to be at. They can measure that. They can see like, oh, I'm doing level 2 now instead of level 1, and they're seeing their strength improve. I can see it in their, even when my private students who are doing mace work and doing privates with me, when they come into my group classes, I can see the difference. They're more integrated, they're more aware, they're more solid in their bodies. And then I think the other piece of it is just the recovery, the emphasis on recovery and relaxation, like really building that into their practice. They're learning about their heart rate and how to take their heart rate and why we do that, and how to make sure that they're not working too hard or hard enough. And then using the time when we're relaxing to really work on their stress response. So those are probably the biggest things that people talk about, and they like it. It's fun. They're having fun. It's not just work. It's fun.
I think people, when they're having fun, they're much more likely to continue to show up and continue to recommit to another round of 12 weeks of programming. And there's always
Hmm.
somewhere to go with still Mace Vinyasa. Like, you're never
Yeah.
done. There's always,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can even revisit a strength building
Yeah.
phase or a complexity phase where you're doing more like flow based movement.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, wow, this is like my brain is having to work in a different way. And they really like that. They're looking for something different. They're looking for something new to occupy their brain and to learn. And that is really good for us as we age, but at any age, it's good for us, but they really like that. And I think that helps them release a little bit of stress too, because they can't think about all the other things in their lives when they're trying to figure out like, what side, where am I going with this? Okay, I got it. That you can see that pleasure when they actually hit something and they get it in their bodies.
Yeah, and getting into flow state, like when you're in that state of flow, you're really focused in on that present moment, and you do need some element of complexity and coordination and agility and all these cool things that we get to train with the steel mace that allow us to get into flow state, which I know you're really keen on. So tell us a bit about your program Function and Flow that's opening up in the fall time. Just kind of walk us through, you said there's a group element, like tell us just kind of full big broad strokes, especially for yoga teachers that are wanting to build out like a signature program, kind of what all the pieces are
Yeah.
and what that looks like.
Yeah, the pieces are, I mean, my ultimate vision is much more complicated than, where it's going to start out with, which I like. I mean, I've been trying to back it up a little bit to make it a little more simple so that one, I can make sure that I have the pieces built properly and in a way that is sustainable for me, but also to make it not overwhelming for my students. So there is a practice on your own element. So there's a bunch of pre-recorded videos that will walk them through this 12 weeks of programming. There's a little bit of like a kickstart week, and then there's a get started week, and then we move into like some mobility and core and just basic sun salutation type stuff, and then we move into the steel mace programming. And there's a couple, I have kind of two rounds where we go through one round of steel mace, then we take like a little break, we do a little mace mechanic week, and then we go through the second round of the mace work, which is repeating the first round, but like a little different, that variation. And then in the last week, we do a shred fit test to kind of like see how they're doing fitness wise and drop the mace and do body weight stuff. And that's kind of a fun element. And then we have like a down regulation week, and then it starts over again. So they'll have those pre-recorded classes to do, which are only, this is really important to me. I feel like it's 30 minutes and under each class. But if somebody has more time, they could stack them together to make a longer class. But if they have less time, then they can practice a piece at a time. So that's the on your own practice element. And then I'll just have one group online class per week where we are basically practicing together all of the elements for that week so that they get a chance to ask questions and be in community and just kind of get feedback on form and things like that. Yeah, so that's the group component. And there will be pieces of the manual that I give them also as part of that group program so that they can do their tracking. They'll have some tracking sheets. They'll have a way to plan out their workouts. And I'll also give them some just like bonus information about what it's like to be a midlife woman who is on the pro aging side. Try to shift some mindsets. Try to encourage them to work on functional movement. What is functional movement? Why do we want to be in flow? What are the benefits of that? And some like meditation and journaling and extra little practices like that.
Amazing. I'm
Yeah,
so excited to see the launch of the signature program.
me
And I
too.
love that there's
Me
shred fit in there.
too.
I was just doing some
Yeah.
nerding out research on a new modality I'm studying. Actually, it's called face hit, and it's all about
Mm.
like Tabata, which shred fit is Tabata, 20 seconds work, 10 seconds rest. But when we stimulate fast twitch muscle fibers, it's really important for us as, midlife women aging, even in our face, that there's all these like fast twitch muscle fibers in our face that we can plump up. And so I was like, oh,
Hmm.
that's why
Ooh,
steel
that
mace is
sounds
so,
cool.
yeah, like that's why steel mace is so effective, because we do fast
Hmm.
twitch muscle recruitment. And a lot of yoga practices really are like slow twitch, and even strength training on its own without the hip protocols is like slow strength building. But we really need the fast twitch muscle fiber recruitment to really gain lean muscle mass, gain tone, and help us with functional movement. So I'm super excited to
Yeah,
see how that rolls out.
interesting. There's always
Yeah.
so many new little things, you know?
Yeah. I mean, this stuff is like,
Yeah.
I've known that for many years, but just to like see it in another program was like, oh yeah, that's why we do
Hmm.
HIIT protocols. That's why it's
Hmm.
advantageous for us. There's so much research on HIIT protocols and how they're
Yeah.
beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what does your business look like now compared to when you started, as far as like your marketing, your sales pages, your offers, like how you conduct your business?
Yeah, I would say, well, I mean, I'm still dialing that in, really. I'm trying to really intentionally build each piece so that I feel really good about each piece when it's done. Like I just finished redoing my homepage and I'm like, okay, I like that. That's done. I mean, it's not done. It's never done. We're always refining and coming back and changing things, but it currently now reflects the steel mace stuff a little bit, and I'm going to be building a little bit of that in more fully. I use Flowdesk for my email marketing. I'm not doing a lot of emailing right now. I email my group class students once a week to just remind them to register for class. And while I've been rebuilding my website and really kind of working on the programming for this group program, I haven't been emailing my list very often, and I don't do like any social media right now, just because that's just kind of a choice that I've made for the moment. And never say never. Like I might get back into it at a certain point, but I just needed a little break from the posting part. But honestly, that hasn't really hurt my business. Whenever I promote a quarterly workshop, which I've only done a couple of them, and I plan to do more of those because I'm supposed to be doing them every quarter, but I'll get there. Um, but I swear, every time I promote one of those, they're well attended, they do well, but I always get one or two new private students out of that, and not even people who've come to the workshop. They just read the emails and they're like, now's the time for me to reach out to her. Okay, I'm going to do that. So it's just really interesting to see how the energy is moving now that I'm building this rhythm, and it's easier for me to plug people in to everything. And there's a lot of choices. I've also introduced I don't do this for privates, but I do it for my group classes. I have a tiered pricing offering where I just let them self-select on an honor basis a coupon code that they can apply for if they need 20% off, if they need 50% off, if they need 60% off to come to a group class, they can just apply it, or a workshop, they can come. Because I have enough abundance in the private coaching that I'm doing that like I want to make sure that people can come to those other offerings for free if they need to, or at this discounted, level. And that's been really good. I mean, most people just pay the full price, but the people who need it take advantage of it. And I don't ask them any questions. They don't have to ask for it. They just take it. And that's been a really big shift for me, like energetically, to be able to just give the group experiences where it doesn't matter if there's another person, they can come. And
I
that's been good.
love that. That is so cool. I haven't heard anyone
Hmm.
doing it that way, but I think that's really smart.
Yeah, I stole it from one of my teachers who has done it for a long, long time, and I was like, yeah, this is a good idea. So
Do you
I'm gonna
just put
start doing
the,
that.
like on the sales page at the bottom, like here's the code for 50% off,
Yep,
20% off? That is so
tiered.
cool.
It's like tier one, tier two, tier three, tier four, and the coupon code is they can apply to a bunch of different products. And it
Nice.
just, so it doesn't apply to privates because that is, my time. So I can't do that. But the programs where, they just memorize the coupon code that they want to use on any of those other products, and it'll take it down for them. Yeah. But it's
That
right
is
there. It's
brilliant.
like
I
here,
mean, I've been
it's
in
in my
course sales.
email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I've been in course
I
sales for a
say
long
it in
time. Never heard of
every
it.
email. Yeah. I
Oh, you
say it
say
in
it.
every
Okay.
email. Like, here it is. And it's on the sales page also. So they can get to it.
Okay, guys, Robin
Yeah.
has given you guys a really cool hack. So please integrate that one to make it more accessible for folks that are in a different socioeconomic bracket. And two, there's huge mental health crisis happening right now. So just being able to give our services to people that really need and get to experience high quality movement coaching. It's
Right.
amazing. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and the way that I word it is like it's based on financial situation and stuff like that, but also how much people are going to use the program or the workshop or whatever, because some people are like, yes, I'm going to use this every day. And some people are like, I'm going to try. I'm going to use it once a week. And, so I want to acknowledge that people are going to use it differently too. Maybe they
Nice.
just don't have time. They have money,
You
but they don't have time.
you have quite a few like online products too, right? So are they
Yep.
applicable to those products
Mm-hmm.
too?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice. Very
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
All right, my next question. What was it that stood out to you most with working with me and the Flowshella team in Flow Coach Accelerator?
I think that, first of all, you're just like this vast well of knowledge and just so much smart stuff comes out of your mouth and in the practices, and just everything is so well done. The somatic piece, which we haven't even talked about yet, was like a really good focusing element for me. And just that idea that we're training things while we're training, and you were like, be careful what you're training. So that was really good for me to focus on. So yeah, and I think just the way the program works too, I really loved how we had the movement labs. Like we had our weekly movement labs, which was just practice once a week. We had a couple things. The other coaches were amazing. I loved having like the different teachers and the different styles. I learned different things from each person, and just you pick up different languaging and stuff. But when you're going through it as a teacher, you get that practice time, but then you have the the movement labs every week where you're forced to teach like on the fly, popcorn style, which was very, challenging, but also like, okay, I got to figure this out. And you're getting that constant feedback from the coaches, like, oh, Robin, you could be a little more clear on that. Like, make sure you're using your active language on that or whatever. It was just really having a lot of practical practice as part of the program was great. And then the monthly movement labs, where we would actually invite our own student, our own athlete in to practice on Zoom, but we're there with them in person. And just I had never seen that done before. Like the way that you're using the tools of the online world and also the in-person world where it makes sense. It was really great. So, yeah, I just liked this. The whole structure of it was really good. Did I get
And
through all of the content?
yeah,
Barely, but
I know you jumped into Embodying Flow and you wanted to finish that
hmm.
program, and then I know you got into it after you graduated too. And
Yes, I
I
did.
think
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
think just that somatics piece, we can kind of fly into there a little bit. So, how would you describe the approach that you learned and how you integrate somatics? Because I think somatics is something that's really like tossed around a lot in our industry,
Hmm.
but to really
Hmm.
understand like
Yeah.
training the felt sense and what does that mean? So yeah, feel free to dive into that a
Yeah,
bit.
and I think that I think there was one, I mean, for me, what I took away from it was that, we as teachers also need to be regulated as much as we can. And there can be a lot of instability in this industry for yoga teachers. And there's a lot of, it can be a slog. It can be really tiring. It can be very, I myself, anyway, just found that I had kind of a lack of confidence in a lot of ways, kind of that fear of putting myself out there, like all of these things. And I learned to actually decide, like, let me train confidence, let me train power and feeling centered or slowing down. And I mean, this was something that I did a little bit in my yoga practice. I always loved that about the yoga practice, where we can look at the patterns in our lives and see where they're showing up on the mat, and then maybe try to shift them. But this was way more, I guess, intentional, and choosing a the a way that we wanted to feel, a way that I wanted to feel, and then thinking about like what would that feel like in my body, and then integrating that into the practice. It just worked a little bit better than anything anything else I had done. And yeah, and I find that I can bring that into my teaching with my students a little bit more because, you know, if they come in talking about like, oh, I'm just so overwhelmed right now and I feel like I'm just so busy, and I'm like, okay, let's slow down. How about that? And you know, they're starting to get that piece of it. I am kind of focusing on just like teaching the nuts and bolts of the mace to them, but as they get more comfortable with that, they're able to bring in that somatic piece and think about that like, okay, maybe I need, you know, I have one student who's struggling with boundary setting. I'm like, perfect. Block. You know, I mean, it's just there are lots of things that I feel like we can bring in through the practice that are really, it makes people think. And it made me think. It made me really go into the practices a little more fully than I have before.
Yeah, and I feel like adding the somatic layer is kind of like for a brand new practitioner, maybe that first year they're just learning the mace mechanics and it's just happening naturally. Like you don't have to tell them
Mm-hmm.
that you're training empowered movement because that's essentially what you're doing is training with a weapon. So they have, you know, more confidence. They stand like a warrior. They have striking
Mm-hmm.
patterns, blocking patterns, throwing patterns. So you're
Yep.
just training like primal movement patterns. And then the result is, oh, I feel more empowered. And then I feel like as instructors to really learn the why, like that can be kind of a nice little extra add-on for us to be like, oh, we can actually reverse engineer how we want to feel more
Mm-hmm.
empowered and how we want to feel more resilient and how, you know, we get to choose how we want to feel and make our training sessions like amplify that, which is kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 I mean, that's true. I feel like every time I have someone come in and pick up the mace, they're very unsure about like what is this and why are we doing this, but they just are like afterwards they're always like, yeah, okay. You know, like you can see that shift. So you're right, they don't have to really know it.
Yeah.
It's
I
happening.
always joke around with my like clients that you would never think they're like training like warriors, but in that hour that they're doing their private session, like they are embodying the warrior. And it's so cool to see,
Mm-hmm.
especially women, like just being able to
Mm-hmm.
move our
Mm-hmm.
bodies in confident ways with like those primal
Mm-hmm.
movement patterns.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, are there any other things that you've gained so far that you've kind of walked away with that you want to acknowledge? We covered a lot.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's more. I mean, there's like the myofascial stuff. There's like so much um, working with injuries and like the programming around all of that, and um, learning so many, there's so many variations on the movements and even just into flow and like the mobility piece. Yeah, I mean, I'm still going back through so much of it. And also like the business side, I feel like that's going to be my next year, is going back through all of the business stuff and just picking up pieces that I want to pick up again and refine and go back into. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, things probably progressed a little since you were in Flow Coach Accelerator, but now we're teaching like the whole offer suite with the workshops and the once a year retreat
Hmm.
and like your online products. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think
we were getting there. We were getting there. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a
Yeah.
process. Like running a
Yeah.
business is not for the
Hmm.
faint of heart. Like it is a labor of love, but you get to do what you're passionate about. You get
Hmm.
compensated really well, and you get to move for a living.
Hmm.
Which I mean, I just
Hmm.
had a private session with. I still have a handful of clients, and we did heavy clubs today, and I was like, I just enjoy this so much that I'm literally teaching a
Hmm.
virtual client. We're training together. There's a relationship. Like, it's a
Hmm.
whole experience to be able to be in the seat of movement coach.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think, not only movement, but like it being in that state of presence, I think is good for us as teachers too, because it forces us to be regulated and in the moment and paying attention and watching. And and listening and yeah, building out the offer suite. I've learned a lot of that from you and other teachers. And when you get into that rhythm where you like have this annual calendar that you're just running and like every piece is just building the system so that over time it gets easier and easier and you can just run it and be the teacher and not have to worry so much about running the business side of it. Yeah, I think it can feel overwhelming and like a slog, but over time you get to just do what you want to do, which is to teach and to be in that wonderful place of giving back to the world.
I don't think I realized it at the time that every workshop was, and there's going to be like multiple iterations of it. And like with Mark and I, when we started developing our retreats, it was like, oh, we kept an agenda and we did like a pre and post check-in at the end. And every single offer in your yoga business gets to have a system behind it so that you can just iterate it on it again and again and reproduce it throughout the year and over multiple years. And so I encourage anyone that's listening to just know that you're never done, but it's a process of iteration and creating systems, like Robin said, to make it easier.
Yeah, and better.
Every year it's a little better. What
Yep.
would you say to somebody that's on the fence about starting Flow Coach Accelerator or even a Still Mace Vinyasa teacher training of some kind? We have a 50-hour and 100-hour.
Yeah, I mean, I would say just do it. Like I think at the time I was like, ooh, this is kind of pricey. Should I do this? Like, can I? Um, and I've definitely more than made up that investment. So that piece of it doesn't like you'll figure it out as long as you do the work of, and not even all the work because you can't. It's a lot of work. But even if you only do, like 60% of the work. Like for example, like I just kind of stopped doing the posting on Instagram because I couldn't really do that part of it. But I did other things and that filled it in. And so the money part of it is just it kind of takes care of itself in a way as long as you just show up and do the work. Um and then I just feel like I've gotten so much personally out of the program and also just that what we just have kept talking about, the programming piece of it, that just it's so easy now. Like I know what I'm teaching every week. I know what my focus is. I'm not like, what am I going to teach today? I don't know. How am I going to deal with this client? I know. Like I don't worry about it anymore because I have a plan. And that really was important for me, and that's been a big shift for me. So I would say if you're someone who wants to um, get out of the the hamster wheel of teaching group classes or even privates without having that plan. If you just take this time, these 4 months to really dive in, I'm not sure if it's still 4 months. It was 4 months when I did it.
It's 4 to 6 months, but yeah.
4 to 6 months. Yeah. If you just take that time, I mean, it's going to pay off over and over and over again in so many ways. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I would say do it.
transformation. It's deep work, and people come in wanting like
Yeah.
marketing and funnels, and I'm like, actually, you're gonna transform in the process. Awesome.
Yeah. And you get that too, but
Yeah,
it's like,
you'll
it's
get the
just a,
marketing stuff.
a little side result of all the other work that you're doing.
And I think as we step
Yeah.
into different levels of leadership and becoming more visible online and producing our assets, like you're producing your online course and you're creating different offers that don't require so much of your time, that are scalable. It's like we get to, and we get to show up differently as movement leaders because we're embodying the practice on a deeper level. We understand nervous system regulation on a deeper level and flow state on a deeper level, and program design, how to implement it with different like special populations. So as we start making these tiny little adjustments of becoming more confident in all these areas, it just allows us to hold that space for transformation. At least that's what I think. It's my
Yep.
2 cents.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Robin, where can we find your work? Tell us your websites, remind us where in the country you're teaching if somebody wants to get started. If somebody's watching this on my YouTube and wants to seek you out as a private coach, where can we find you?
Yeah, I'm at Robin Penny. It's Robin Penny, Penney. Everybody misses that E. second E, dot yoga. So it's a fun little, fun little website. robinpenny.yoga. All my stuff's there. That has a link into my online class platform and my class calendar. I teach in Santa Cruz. I do teach online. I also teach in person here if people come to me on the deck, and I teach one group class a week, and that's what I'm doing now. Workshops are on there too when they pop up, and yeah, you can get on my email list from my website. I do have Instagram, and that's another way you can find me. Robin Penny Movement is my handle on Instagram. Yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Robin, for sharing your experience and a bit about
sure, my
your
pleasure.
work. And I'm excited to see it continue to expand.
Yeah, well, thank you for everything that you have given to me, and it's been just wonderful. And I'll be a follower of you for a long time to see where you see all these different things that you bring into the practice. I think it's really a magical combination of things that you brought into the world. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Robin. It's so good to hear that. And yeah, I'm excited to keep putting out some more innovative products and like online programs that I'm sure you'll be diving into as well.
For sure. Yeah.
Alrighty, we'll see you soon. Thanks, Robin.
Okay, thanks.